guests today had their first UK top 20 hit back in 1981. And their second single, Nightbirds, hit the UK top 10. And their album of the same name went gold. They had another UK top 10 with Down on the Street, and they became an international, worldwide success, as they still are today. In fact, this year, they would have been playing to sell-out crowds, but things are a little bit different. They are celebrating 40 years of being together. They're still out there on the road playing their stuff, just being fantastic. Welcome from Shakatak. On keyboards, Bill Sharp, and on vocals and percussion, Jill Seward. Hello.
Hey, hello there. Hi there, Mark.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Really good. Great to see you. Just going to say that Jill's joining us from Sardinia, which sounds marvellous. I've never been. Is it fabulous over there?
It is lovely. You don't hear or see anything about the virus. Everybody's just carrying on as normal, being Italian, going to the beach, eating, drinking. So paradise.
Very nice. How long have you been there, Jill?
12 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
What took you to Sardinia?
Literally just looking at a place on the map and saying, let's go and see what that looks like. Literally, it was like something at one of these property shows, you know, and then you buy a wreck and then build it up. And it was literally just a stab in the dark.
Oh,
I'll never leave it now. I love it.
And do you play music over there?
Yeah, I've got a few gigs actually pending this year with little local musicians, and that's the good thing. You keep your profile up even out there, you know, because they will think you're so famous in the village. So I do a few shows here, there, you know, which I quite enjoy. Some nice musicians actually, some nice jazz musicians and that. So
that's great. And Bill, how are you? You're at home, I take it, right now, are you?
I'm home. I'm in my little studio. I've been self-isolating. I've been very good. I haven't actually been into a supermarket for 4 months now.
Congratulations.
No, because the local butcher, it's great. Local businesses, down the road, there's a beautiful village called Lavenham. Great butchers there. They deliver the meat and stuff, so I've been getting stuff from there. Plug for the Lavenham butcher. Excellent quality meat.
Oh!
And then
I hear a box of meat has arrived at Bill Sharp.
Oh, so hang on a sec. I'm just going to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the big store. I won't say the name of the big store. See, they don't need the publicity. But you can drive in there and they put it in the back of your car. So this click and collect thing. So I literally haven't physically been in the supermarket. So, and I've been using the local other stores and stuff like that. So I've been supporting the local economy, which is great actually. So it's been, you know, fortunately we're very lucky. I mean, we're all lucky because we've got our own studio, so we can carry on working in a recording way. Obviously, we're losing all the live work, you know, like theatre, music. You know, we kind of seem to be last on the list, aren't we? Really.
So is that what you've been doing, Bill? You've been writing stuff, recording stuff during lockdown?
Yeah. I'm working on some Shaq stuff. We've been putting up little videos on Facebook, and Jill and I have been doing some stuff. I've got some other projects on the go as well, so I've been writing other music. So and it's been, you know, and also I've been out in the garden. I'm fortunate; I've got a really nice garden, so it's been transformed. It's like, you know, I'm hoping next year I'll be in the Chelsea Flower Show. But it's been very therapeutic actually. And I'm glued to the telly, watching Monty Don in Gardener's World because. He's got the gardening bug. No,
Jill, what's happening to him? What's happening to Bill Sharp? Bring him back.
Oh, come on, man! No, yeah, we did 2 drugs the other night.
I guarantee if you talk to anybody, they'll be saying, "Oh my God, I've got back in touch with nature, back in the garden," and it's been really therapeutic. Actually, I think it's great. So you know, you can take the whoop out of me as much as you want, but I'm now an avid gardener. But I'm still, the music obviously is the big thing.
It's nice to know. Jill, I mentioned that you are celebrating 40 years of Shakatak. So what had to be cancelled and what will happen when everything's back to normal?
Well, everything was cancelled more or less. The whole thing was just wiped out just overnight. But I've got this plan looming. I haven't even mentioned it to Bill. I'm thinking maybe we could do a big send-up of the fact that we got the year wrong. You know, because I think there is some maneuverability on it, on the actual date we did our first gig. So we'll probably, next year will be the 40th. We'll have a double whammy.
That's
and charge double for the gig, you see. So
yeah, she's good. She's good. So have you said to people who book tickets, okay, don't worry, we'll just put you forward for next year, or if people wanted their money back, how does all that work?
Well, Bill's been posting little things saying, you know, this show's cancelled, but next year you can book for, you know, April, May. we were discussing that on the phone earlier, and we didn't know how to word it without sounding too depressing. But the fact that we've actually got other gigs, another date mentioned, you know, we'll just plug that away and sound optimistic. But it's been terribly depressing because a lot of them came in on one day. I think there were about 5 cancellations. You thought, oh my God, it can't get any worse, you know. All we want to do is play.
Of course,
And the sad thing as well was that we lost. We've been going to Japan every year for the last 40 years. We've really very rarely missed a year.
Yeah.
And of course, weirdly enough, you know, they're not actually letting anybody from the UK into Japan at the moment, whereas from the US they are. I'm not quite sure how that's working. But so we spoke to the Japanese. We were supposed to go there in October, and they said that they're operating the venues. They opened the venues, but they're operating at 50% capacity, and everybody's got to wear a mask. And apparently, there's no shouting. So I was thinking, I don't know how you can shout with a mask on anyway. But obviously, they can't. For us to go out there, they've got to cover the flights, all that stuff. So we've had to postpone, or we've had to cancel this year for Japan and some other overseas stuff. We had to cancel a German tour. So, and it's all, you know, it'll be a busy year next year. So in a way, but the thing in a way, I obviously I feel bad, but I think, you know, so many people in music and theatre and everything, everybody's struggling. So in a way, we're sort of sharing the pain somehow. So you don't feel you can complain because everybody's going through it.
Everybody's going through it. And as you know, you two, that's why we're doing this. And, you know, thanks so much for doing this, because we're recording this in early July 2020, when the situation is pretty bad, because you never know, this interview might be seen in years to come and I think, what are they talking about? Well, about this incredible
2020
year. Let's go right back. I guess, Bill, you've got to tell us the story of Shakatak, how it started.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically going back to 1979 really into 1980, I was playing in a band with our drummer Roger and our old guitarist Keith. And the original bass player in our band was Trevor Horn, who went on to be a well-known producer. I'd written a few songs, and Roger somehow played them to Nigel, who became our producer in the band as well. And we sort of met up and talked about stuff. And then Nigel came up with this idea, and he said, "How about doing a sort of piano instrumental kind of thing?" Because there were a few around at the time. So I wrote a couple of tunes. We went in the studio. And it was sort of the start of Shakatak. We did the first single in there called Stepping. Even when we were recording, we didn't actually have a name. So we got a phone call from, I think, Capital Radio in those days. They wanted to play it. And they said, "What's the name of the band?" So I wasn't around at the time, but I think a couple of the guys were in a record shop in Soho called the Record Shack. And they came up with the Shakatak from the Record Shack. So Nigel phoned me, he said, "Oh, the band's name's Shakatak." And I was like, that sounds pretty good, because it's just one word, kind of cool. And then, you know, that started off. And then we started working with Jill and Roger were working in at the Cat's Whiskers in Streatham. And so then Roger was the pivotal guy between the two bands. And he knew Jill and Jackie. So Jill and Jackie started working with us. And then it just evolved really through 1980. And we were just really, just a bunch of musicians having some fun. And then we put the first single out, and then the second single. And then it seemed to be a thing, like it starts going. It took 2 years of traveling up and down the road. And weirdly enough, there's a funny story when we used to drive around in the early days. We were in a van and stuff. But somehow, all of us managed to lose all our driving licenses at the time, and the only one who could find it was Jill. So Jill was driving us around the country. She was our driver. She was the designated driver.
Well, you know what I mean? It's the job, like, not me. All right, darling, cheer up. Might never happen.
Jill, I mean, musically, you've done stuff with Fusion Orchestra, which for anybody...
Oh my God, you know that.
Well, yeah, and it was prog rock. It was progressive rock. A very different sound, really, to Shakatak. So, but were you always interested in that kind of jazz funk, smooth jazz Latin feel?
Definitely. I mean, when I was with Fusion, I remember thinking I'm not really a rock fan, when actually performing, and I was happier doing the jazzier parts of the song. So we did. When I got my feet under the table, I introduced more of a jazz feel to it, and then I enjoyed it a lot more. you know, but I mean, it's not a huge step away from what we do, you know, the long piano solos, and, you know, we did quite a lot of mixture with it. And it was what you called a concept band. The albums were, the pieces were concept pieces in those days. And that was quite interesting, all the different sections. They were like suites, you know. It was good fun. But to this day, I'm still at the concerts. I still have fans turning up from Fusion Orchestra, you know, with their antique albums to be signed. And it's a privilege for me to be in that position. You know.
It is amazing though when they turn up. For me, they turn up at stage doors sometimes with photographs from about 1980, 1981.
Yeah.
And you look at them and you think, why have you got these? And
it's just fantastic. Yeah.
That is. And it just shows you how long you've been around, really. But Jill, in your case, you know, what was different and special about you was, you know, you were playing just about everything as well as doing the vocals and doing the harmonies and all that, playing the bongos and the percussion stuff. So where did you learn that? How did that start?
Do you mean in the Fusion period or the Shakatak? You mean?
No, the Shakatak period.
I used to play at school. You know, I used to bang things. I was always very banging desktops and things and pots and pans. So I was always into it, and it came primarily in Shakatak because the songs contained quite long instrumentals, and I always felt very self-conscious standing there shimmying. You know, it just feels wrong to me. I felt like I was a decoration. I wanted to do something on tambourine and play something, and I could play quite well. So I played with Fusion, as I said, played congas. So I just introduced it to the guys saying, let me play congas whilst the piano is soloing, while I'm doing bass solo, so that it looks like I'm a musician rather than just a vocalist. But I actually enjoy playing a hell of a lot.
But it's just natural. It's just there.
Yeah, it just happens. I don't know.
Drummer as well.
Yeah.
We did a gig actually last year, and Roger, for some reason, you know, we were doing the breakdown in Nightbirds, and he had a bit of a tummy problem, so he needed to leave the stage ASAP. So I was looking around, I could see Jill going up, taking over the drums from Rog. So he disappeared off stage, and she's going like this, laying down the groove. And I'm thinking, it's just great. So she really plays a nice groove, you know. So that was. I thought we've got to keep that in the show.
That's so funny. It was so funny. But I mean,
when you think back to that period, early 80s, there was a real eclectic mix. You know, I've written them all down, Dexys and Jam and Bucks Fizz and the Stranglers and Soft Cell and you. So maybe you just came along at the right time, that kind of anything musically would be seen as different, and there would always be a kind of fan base for that.
I think the great thing is when sometimes they show the old Top of the Pops, a lot of the Top of the Pops we were on back in the early 80s. And it is, I mean, just across, you know, for half an hour, it really is a broad sort of broad church of all different kinds of music, from like heavy metal to sort of new romantic to electro stuff. I mean, it was a great time there was room for all sorts of different kind of music. It wasn't, I mean, nowadays, I mean, a lot of it sounds, with auto-tune and stuff, it sounds kind of quite generic to me. But I think those days, I mean, obviously, you know, maybe looking with rose-tinted glasses, but I think it was a great time for all kinds of music, whatever you were into. And I enjoyed all those kinds of music. And if it was good music, it was good music, really.
Yeah, exactly. But what's great about Shakatak is you stuck to what you were doing. And there must have been sometimes people around you saying, you need to...
sure.
Toughen up a bit, and I mean that in the. I mean, you know, I love your stuff, but at that time when I was loving your stuff and I was presenting Saturday morning telly and we were getting all kinds of bands in, people were saying to me, they liked it, but they were saying, "What, you just like Shakatak? Why?" And I said, "I can't explain it. It's just a." So there must have been a bit of pressure on you sometimes,
There was.
yeah.
There was mainly from the record company. We went through a period of a couple of albums where we were seriously being led by the company. So you need to change. You need to sound, Jill, you need to sound more black. You know, George, you need to sound more white. You know, no, I mean that's a joke, but you need to change style. You need to keep up, and we did. We faltered and we changed things to please people, and got absolutely nowhere. Really, it was a very depressing time until the Japanese record company came in and said, "We want Shakatak as, you know, we want to do some albums with you, doing what you do best." And then all of a sudden, it was such a relief to get back to doing exactly what we do best. Yeah, and it was a terrible time. In fact, I can't listen to some of those albums that we did back then. Every time I listened to a couple of songs, it was all very highly technical. There wasn't a drum kit used. It was always, you know, electronic drums and electronic sounds. And I can't listen to some of those tracks because it's not what we do really. It's painful, you know.
It goes against what you feel inside, really. Yeah.
For me personally, I didn't enjoy it at all.
Bill, why do you think you've been so big in Japan and the Far East?
I think that when sort of 1982, we were sort of like touring around. We were doing really well here in Europe, and then we got our manager Les at the time said, "Oh, we've been asked to do a tour of Japan," and it was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool," because Nightbirds became a big hit. It was used on an advert, and it became very popular. We had, and as often happens in music business, maybe in theatre business, whatever else, in a company sometimes you need one person that can see something in a band. It only takes one person in the company. We happen to have that guy in Japan, and he saw something in the music, and he pushed to get this song on an advert, and then he pushed for us to go out on tour. And suddenly, Nightbirds became this massive hit in Japan. The album was huge, and we went out there in early 1983. And I mean, it's quite funny looking back, but we had people chasing us down the street, only because we didn't pay the bill in the hotel. No, but no, we were literally. We thought, well, this is. We weren't used to this sort of like fame. It was quite funny, really. So we used to hide from the fans and stuff, were waiting for us everywhere. So it was our little bit of Michael Jackson, Beatlemania kind of thing. And the guy in the record company, who then he went on to become, he ran Universal Records. He became a big shot in the company, and we still see him. We go back and we always stay in touch and stuff. And he's retired now, but he said they like. I think some of it is the fact that it was instrumental, a lot of it, so there was no language thing.
Yeah.
And he came out with this phrase that our music appealed to traditional Japanese sensibilities, which I'd have no idea what he meant by that. But I think what he basically said, they like a good tune. And this particular style, Nightbird's Invitation, all that stuff, that's the kind of thing that was huge in Japan. And still, when we do gigs, I mean, when we play Nightbirds at the end of the show in Japan, they go bonkers. That little da-da-da-da-da-da, and they're, wow, everybody's up on their feet. And so 40 years on, it's fantastic. And even talking about it makes me go a bit chill.
mention Roger Adele and George Anderson. There's the four of you there now. Who decides on the whole look of the band? Who decides on styling? Who decides on the program for each show?
Well, styling and that, don't ask. We just do our own thing now. No one dare. I mean, occasionally Bill will come into my dressing room and say, "My hair look all right," and that's about it, you know. But no, we do our own thing in that.
And I hope some of you are old enough to remember some of our music, because a lot of the songs we play come back from the late 80s, 82, 83, and so probably a long time before you were all born. But anyway, that song was called Invitations, and we like to play another song from 1982, many years ago. And this one you might remember is called Easier Said Than Done. Thank you so much. Thank you.
The song Day by Day is with Al Jarreau. It's it's coming together for both of you. How did that happen?
Oh, once again in the studio, we were setting a groove up, you know, and I was doing an impersonation of Al Jarreau. Just doing his voice, and I said, well, wouldn't it be such a great thing to get somebody like Al Jarreau to perform on it? And Nigel said, yeah, you know, and Nigel was a doer, and he phoned somebody up, out of nowhere, and he said, you know, what his movements are, etc., etc. And it came to a dead end. And then Nigel went to this big party, and Al Jarreau's manager was at the party. So the manager said, yeah, send us over, send us the tracks, we'll have a listen. And he had a couple of tracks, and Al Jarreau said, yeah, I'd like to do this one. And what? Fantastic. So the wheels started moving, and we went out and did it. And I flew out to America to sing it with him. And that was the first time I'd met him. It was amazing. And the guy was so lovely. And we spent time out there. And then he came over to the UK to do the video. And so we were all best friends at the time. It was lovely. He was just legend standing in the studio. And then a couple of times he would sing something that you just melt listening to him. And then Nigel would say, "Oh, you need to do that again, mate. It's a little bit out of tune."
No, to Al Jarreau.
Yeah, you're telling Al Jarreau he's out of tune. Oh yeah, okay. So I remember every minute of that trip. Just standing there beside him, sweating with nerves. But I also recall how nervous he was. He's a terrible bunch of nerves. So, very, very nervous. So
because he cares so much.
Yeah. And when we were, he came over to the UK to do the Wogan show with us, and it was live. And they did suffer from nerves quite badly, and he obviously hadn't listened to the song enough before the live performance. So we're out the front, the music's starting, and I knew I'm coming day by day. Just about to sing, he says to me, "Tell me one of my first lines. Day, I'm taking, you're having a good time." So when it came in, it wasn't him to sing, it was me, and I'd missed the cue entirely, and the camera was on me, and I was doing nothing. I'd love to see a video of that, actually. And then he stumbled through the whole thing. His miming was awful. He couldn't remember the song. So the whole thing was
he did, and he did the thing, and he was going like this, so you couldn't see his mouth because he couldn't remember the words.
Terrible.
That's amazing.
Terrible.
Let's take it all in at a time. Day by day. I love it. Don't ever think of what you left behind. You're crazy.
Has anybody asked you to, and you may have done them, has anybody asked you to join in on these 80s tours, 80s nights? on the road?
We've done the odd one here and there. We've done a few festivals which are quite fun.
Yeah.
And we've done a few shows where, say, 2 or 3 bands. Like we did quite a few with Alexander O'Neill and Loose Ends, Shalimar, stuff like that. So we do a few. We probably don't get asked to do the more poppy ones because I guess that's more sort of like Bananarama and the new romantic stuff. So there's a different area of the 80s. But we've done the odd one here and there, and overseas as well. You know, we've gone to Holland and done a few things. We don't do it too much. We have done a few in Butlins, which is an experience.
Well, Cheryl Baker was telling me about that when I interviewed her.
Oh, the
But I
Butlins.
guess the Bucks Fizz audience probably isn't the Shakatak audience.
No.
No.
No, we did one actually. The last one we did in Butlins, we did with a version. I don't even think there was an original member. We did a version with a version of Boney M, and we went on before them. And I mean, we're not exactly the Butlins band really, because obviously the instrumental stuff is not great for a Butlins crowd. You know, you've got like 500-600 people who just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
And we were okay, but there were a few people walking out and stuff. But then Boney M came on. I think they were sons of Boney M. And they were just awful. They couldn't sing in tune. I recorded some of it because it was. I mean, if you're watching, I do apologise, but you were awful, and you were out of tune. It was terrible, but they loved it. They loved it because they knew all the songs.
Yeah.
You know, Brown Girl in the Ring, da 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 da, all this stuff.
Could be anybody, yeah. But
Please.
if you, Mark, if you want to go to YouTube or tell your guests, everyone that's listening, if you type in Shakatak Butlins, it comes up with Dancing Banana. And that's what we're famous for, because there's some guy danced in at one of our gigs, the whole Butlins thing.
He was dressed as a banana. Huge
Just
banana. But then the funny thing is, just towards the end, there's a fight breaks out between the banana and Robin from Batman and Robin. And it's priceless. I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's far more interesting than us playing. Just banana fighting Robin, you know, like, where's Batman when you need him? But
Could it have been called a banana drama?
yeah.
Oh.
That's a good one. You know, a couple of years ago when we kind of met up again, because you came to play at the Mill at Sonning, which is a fabulous venue for you, and nobody thinks about the little Mill at Sonning near Reading as a music venue, but it was a great gig.
Lovely.
We talked about. I said to you, you've got to come out to Spain sometime because there's a whole load of people out there who would love to hear you. So you sent me a breakdown of what you need to be able to play. And I don't mean things that you need in the dressing room and all that. I'm talking about your technical stuff. And honestly, Bill and Jill, I couldn't believe what you require. Nobody understands what actually goes into creating that sound and giving people the Shakatak show.
Yeah.
Go on.
Do you want to go, Jill?
No, after you, sir. After you.
Oh no, please. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ladies first.
No.
No, we have the technical right. Obviously, we've got to have these days it's so, unless you're a major band, you know, you just can't take your own equipment with you. So it's got to be supplied locally rather than flying it out there. So obviously there's drums, percussion, all the keyboards, the PA, the lighting, all mics, all that sort of stuff. It's a fair thing to do. And, you know, I mean, that's part of the thing with promoters. You know, they've got to factor in the fact that the backline is going to cost a fair bit to do. But we've done. To Spain. I'm just trying to think. The last time we were in Spain, we did a few years ago. We went down to Benidorm, which was interesting.
Right.
Yeah,
Played in a hotel in Benidorm, which was. It actually was a lot better than we expected. They were really nice. They took good care of us. Because in the 80s, I mean, we used to play in Spain a lot.
Did you?
Yeah, we toured all over Spain, but we had a slight the last tour we did in Spain, the last show was a little bit wasn't really the band, but we had our management agency and crew. They used to sort of like to be a bit rock and roll, so it was a bit manic at late 80s, and they just they went a bit crazy. And I remember the promoter said, you'll never play in Spain again.
Right.
And I think he was right. But it wasn't that, it was the surrounding people that decided to throw people in the pool, and they did all sorts of silly stuff. But you know, that was then, long time ago.
Just had so many experiences. I mean, in 40 years.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we you know, there's been, yeah, I mean, we've been banned. Again, not for our own fault. We've been banned from a few hotel chains back in the day, and we've done our bit.
He says proudly.
So not really.
But you know, there you are on the road all together, and you're playing the stuff that people want to hear. And I know you come up with some new tracks occasionally. You've had new albums and stuff. But what's it like when you're playing to that audience who love you, and every time you start another track, the audience go, yeah, they love it. Not just Nightbirds and Down on the Street, other ones. Everybody knows what those tracks are. That must just be a great feeling, Jill, is it?
It's so rewarding, yeah. Especially if you go to a country where you don't realise how popular you are. And we went up to Korea one time, and we walked onto the stage, and there was this everyone just screaming and shouting at people going. So we're all turning around to see who'd walked on. You know, that we're so green as to how popular we are. You know, and the feeling there was just we couldn't do anything. We couldn't do any wrong. You know, they were singing along to all the lesser known numbers, and it's great for the soul, and it makes the gig just perfect. You just forget about any technical issue. I mean, sometimes we do these gigs, the audience are going crazy, and you can't hear a thing in the monitor, and the normal things that drive you mad and get you angry just disappear when the audience are like that. You know, you don't notice anything.
Would you say for you, and probably for the band, Shakatak is the main focus? Have there ever been times over the years when you've really wanted to go and do your own thing?
No, to be quite honest with you, no. I haven't, because it's also comfortable. I think since we've managed ourselves, since we've become this cottage industry that Bill's talking about, I'm as happy as anything in that surround, because it's down to us. And it feels good, and we work as a democracy. Everything's decided between the four of us. Every move is decided between the four of us. And you actually feel completely different. The 80s were great, but it wasn't so good for me. I didn't feel part of anything then. I felt part of a pop group, which it was part of an industry, you know.
It's interesting, that, isn't it? That you can be having this great success, which you are, but then you were everywhere, top of the pops and everything else, and yet you're not inside. You're thinking,
no, yeah. Now it feels better. It definitely feels better. So I never really think. In fact, I mean, Bill will tell you, we often get friends and people, other musicians, saying, would you like to do a gig at my venue? Would you like to come and do something? Get a little band together around you. And I have done a couple of things, as I say, out here in Sardinia. And to be honest with you, I love to do it when I'm actually on stage, but the build up to it and getting the songs ready and that, I'm a nervous wreck, because I'm out of my comfort zone. I know that with Shakatak, Bill's going to be there, I'm going to be here. I know everything's going to go fine. Anything can go wrong on stage, it's not a problem. But when you're by yourself, the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
I'm too old in the tooth now to be handling that.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in my comfort zone.
There's too much expectation when you're together with your Shakatak family. You know what?
Yeah.
We're like family.
Like family. So, Bill, is there anywhere you'd like to play that you haven't played so far? Any venue you think, yeah, I really would love to play there?
Well, I mean, weirdly enough, because I mean, I'd say probably all of us would say that our musical influences. I mean, in saying that, I mean, I grew up when I was a school kid and everything. I was listening to the Beatles. Then I was listening to, like Keith Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So I was into prog rock. So I did come up from a rock sort of background. But after that, when I started listening to more jazz fusion kind of stuff, and with the Shakatak thing, I'd say all our influences really come from America. Obviously it all comes from America, but it's the one country we've never played in. We've never played in the States. So I've obviously been there. We've worked over there in different ways, but at Shakatak, we've never played there. So I think before I mean, I think our health will probably retire us before, or people will just stop coming to see us. But I'd love to think, sometime maybe we'll do, like a couple of shows, maybe show in New York or a show in LA or something like that. We've had a lot of potential to go there. It hasn't worked out in the past. So I think that would be something I'd love to do, is to do a couple of shows.
I think it would work, Jill. Don't
Mm.
you? I mean, you do the George Duke stuff. It's fabulous, and the audience really responds. You could kind of tailor it.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's getting people to invest in it, because when you go to the States, you really have to go to the States. You have to do it all, and you need the backup of a big record company. You need, it's no point just going there do one show in Blue Note, New York or anything. It's not going to happen, So and of course there's logistical problems with visas and stuff, So it's all looking a bit, unfortunately, very, very foggy. We need some big entrepreneur to come along and say, we need Shakatak out here. You're coming with me, and we'd do it at the drop of a hat, because that's our one wish.
And we've got a lot of fans out there, and we've had quite a lot of success in States. I mean, Nightbirds was quite a big album, and then some more recent contemporary jazz stuff. So we have a following, but it's the logistics of getting out there. So yeah, maybe one day we'll see.
It's the logistics and also the venues. The venues will be really important.
Yeah, exactly.
Jill, do you get homesick when you've got to come over to the UK or whatever it might be, Japan or whatever, and you're leaving your place in Sardinia?
Well, my kids are back in the UK, so I mean that's a big thing for me. Well, I say kids, they're grown men now, but I get bouts of homesickness. I think I want to be with my babies and go home. But I come home so often. Not this time because I've been stuck down here, But when we're gigging, I'm home every 2 weeks. This is the longest time I've ever stayed in Sardinia. I only do 2 week stints, backwards and forwards. So there's no time to be homesick.
And how do you keep the voice going? Do you sing every day or?
Training, my dear, training. I sing from the diaphragm. It is, though. It is, because if you don't train, it's a muscle. You've got to use it, and the occasional tequila helps.
Mark, I have to say something. You see behind me,
yeah,
gold ring. I don't know if you remember I might have reminded you before, years and years, we did a telly show where you came on a show, and you presented us with one of these gold discs. That's a distant memory.
Yeah, no, I absolutely remember. And the incredible thing is that I had forgotten about it. And then we talked about that gig you did in Sonning.
Yeah.
And I left you a little note just saying, I'm going to watch the show tonight, because we'd done the matinee and then you were on at night.
That's right, yeah.
You mentioned it in the show. And I got teary-eyed. It was just fantastic.
Oh,
Brilliant.
That's lovely.
Listen, thank you both so much. Good luck next year. 41, 40, whatever. Everybody will be there supporting you. So.
And also for you too. And
yeah.
Let's hope 2021 is the 2020 we hope for.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Bill Sharp, Jill Seward from Shakatak. Thanks so much on behalf of Acting for Others for joining in with us today. And everybody watching, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, just go back to the Acting for Others website, hit the donate button. That'll take you straight to the Just Giving page. It's really easy. Just give whatever you can to help performers, not just actors, performers, technicians, people who work at the theatre, just getting through this tricky financial time. So, yeah, please. Thanks a lot, guys. Good luck.
Yeah, great stuff.
Tonight's the night we'll never forget. No way, best time in our lives that we are gonna get. New lovers meet as they dance through the night.